Well, y'all, how are you doing? Today, I am going to show you how to make some bread machine loaf bread. I was sitting here, sorry for the way I look, but I've been cleaning up all day this morning, vacuuming out the couch, vacuuming the floor, mopping. I'm about to steam mop the floor. I have been busy, but I started to think to myself, I'm going to go ahead and make myself a thing of loaf of bread so that way when it comes lunchtime I will be able to enjoy a sandwich and maybe some chips, because at lunchtime I do love sandwiches and a bag of chips. That's my favorite thing to eat for lunch. So I thought to myself, why am I going to use store-bought bread when I've made my bread in my bread machine before and really loved it with the sandwich? So if I make it now, which is 9/11, oh, that's not good. It's 9:12 now. Thank you. 9:11. Woo. But anyways, it's 9:12 in the morning time, and so let's make this loaf of bread. It will be cooled off, cooked, and ready for lunchtime, and I will show you guys my sandwich that I will make out of it. This is simple ingredients. I will put it in the description down below just in case you need it to write it down like I do, because I keep a whole can of recipes that I use, so that way I always have it on a card and I can whip it out instead of having to search through my phone. What recipe did I use again? Nope, I've got it written down as bread machine Amish loaf because I got it from an Amish woman on YouTube. Okay, so you will need 1 cup of water, 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, 3 cups of bread flour. Bread flour does matter, okay? If you use regular flour, you will get this liquidy, it doesn't look that great. Bread flour has more protein in it, which essentially just makes it be better. So, bread flour. And 3/4 teaspoons of salt, 2 1/4 teaspoons of bread machine yeast, and 1/3 of a cup of sugar. So, let me get all those ingredients all together and we'll put it in the bread machine and do it all. All right, so first step is I am going to take the canister out. When I put my ingredients in here, I take it out because I don't like pouring things into the system, just into this. So I do recommend you get some Pam spray and spray your bread machine because, to be honest with you, the bread might stick after it's being cooked in there. So this has actually helped to keep it from sticking. So just give it a good spray. Spray that paddle too, just like that. Some people say that they will use the paddle to mix their ingredients, and then when they see it's about to cook, they'll take their paddle out and then stick their dough back in there. There's a motorcycle going by really loud. They'll stick their paddle back in there, or they'll take their paddle out, they'll put their dough in there, so that way the paddle isn't in there, but you just literally take it out of your bread. It doesn't bother anything. All right, so the first ingredient is a cup of water. How do you like this measuring glass? It's Dolly Parton. I got it at Dollar General, and it was really cheap. I think it was probably like $5, and it's glass and really nice quality. So a cup of water. I use room temperature. And then you need 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Here's the vegetable oil. This is just great value. I already got all my little measuring spoons out. I do use a 2 tablespoon measurer because it's just easier that way. All right, pour that in there. Throw that in the sink. I'm good at throwing things that landed right in the sink. All right, and then after that, it's time for our flour. So you will need 3 cups of bread flour. I am using King Arthur's bread flour unbleached. I have used my favorite brand is White Lily, but they didn't have it at the Walmart, so I just got King Arthur. But I've heard people love King Arthur as well, so hopefully we have a good outturn with this. All right, so I'm going to measure out my 3 cups. I just like to rub my hand on the side of the bag, and that helps like get it even. So there's 1 cup. When I took a foods class, we used a knife to level it off, but I'm too lazy. All right, there is 2. And there's 3. That's 3 cups. Now, once you put your cup of flour, your 3 cups of flour, it is very important to do this step. take the flour, my hands are clean, I just washed them, and distribute the flour all the way around and cover every surface. That way you don't see any water. That's important because the next few ingredients we're going to do, like the yeast, doesn't need to get saturated until a certain point of mixing in the bread machine. So after we got the 3 cups of bread flour, we will need 3/4 teaspoon of salt. So I've got my 1/4 teaspoon and I'm going to do 3 of these. So I'm going to measure it over this so that way we don't drop in extra salt. And plus I'm done using this measuring cup. So there's 1, 2, and 3. All right. We only used a little bit extra that fell out, but that would have been extra inside of this. So that's why I measure it over the sink, or in this case, over a measuring cup. All right, and now we will need our bread machine yeast. I use bread machine yeast. Some people say active dry is the same, but I prefer bread machine yeast because I have noticed it sets up a lot quicker. So you will need 2 1/4 teaspoon of bread machine yeast. So 1, 2, and then I'll get my 1/4 teaspoon measure again, and boom. And that's all. I need to get some more of this. I've used up a lot of it from making cinnamon rolls, donuts, pretzels, you name it. I've made it with this. And then 1/3 cup of sugar. All right, so here's my 1/3 cup of sugar. All right, so I just stuck it back in here. It's in here and it's locked in. Now you're going to choose the cycle called basic. If you don't have basic on your machine, I'm sure you can research to see what you're supposed to put it on, but you basically just put it on basic bread making setting. So once I have it on basic, I want it to have a medium darkness to it, not dark, not light. And since we are using 3 cups of flour, that is 1.5 pounds of loaf size. So that's going to take 2 hours and 53 minutes. If you use any more cups of, if you go over 3 cups of flour, 4 cups, 6 cups, that's when you're going to do that 2 pounds. But if you're just using 3 cups and anything less than that, put it on 1.5 pounds. That's what I've learned for it. And then you just hit start and it will start mixing it up. And I'm going to clean all this mess up, let this cook. It will be done approximately around 11 something. And I will get back to you, show you it coming out of the canister. We'll let it, you have to let it completely cool. If you don't, it will be soggy. Like, it will not soggy like uncooked, but like really squishy. You want to let it completely get cooled down before you cut it. So I'll get back to you, clean this up, finish my cleaning, and I'll see you in a little bit. So the bread is done and time to take it out. After an hour and 30 minutes, it's finally ready. This is actually really hot when you take it out, so I have to use like a little oven mitt. I could have waited until it was completely done in order to get it out, but I was too excited to show you guys. 2 oven mitts is needed, and would you take a look at that nice golden brown? That's exactly how I like the bread to be. I don't want it to be burnt or not underdone, you know. So here it is, and look, it slides right out. That's what that pan spray does good. And I'm showing you that the paddle is still in there. It did not go into the bread, and that's the reason I like the method where you spray it with cooking spray. And now I'm going to put this back in here and flip the loaf over, and there you go. You have a beautiful loaf of bread. All right, the bread has cooled, and now it is time to cut it. I use a serrated knife whenever I'm cutting it because I've tried to use a non-serrated knife and it just squishes it down and doesn't cut good. So let's see how this bread looks. Wow, it turned out beautiful and it tastes really, really good. Give it a try.